Hello again there, YouTube fans. This is the real Creepy Dollman here. I'm back with an all-new episode. It is October the 2nd of 2018. Time is now 4:33 a.m. Okay, today's episode is called The Real Creepy Dollman from Louisville, Kentucky tells another true tale of the house. It will be a 4-part mini-series broken down to 4 parts. Part 1 begins now. Okay, before we move into this house, let's go back to when I was young. Back to when I was born and raised. I was born and raised on Waverly Court, and I've been there for about 10 years of my life. I was born and raised on Waverly Court in Louisville, Kentucky. And the address there was 1658 Waverly Court here in Louisville, Kentucky. The zip code was 40206, and we lived in an upstairs apartment. It was a 1-bedroom, and we've been there for a long time. We had ups and downs at the time. We lost a lot of good people. Our relatives died. Yeah, one of them died within the very house across from the other apartment that was next to us. And my grandma used to live over there, and everything went ups and downs for me there. I had good times and bad times growing up as a kid there. This is when my father and mother separated at the time. I had it hard. I had sort of a hard life off and on. Moving around from place to place from different apartments. Before we moved, we had some trouble with the landlord, which was Sam Bailey and Fred Bailey. And, Fred poisoned his brother's mind by wanting to increase the rent price on us through his brother. So what he did is he took and did something to his brother to get him mad at us. And he decided to raise the rent. So we had no choice but to move. So I was still 10 years old. I have not turned 11 yet. And we had to move to 1658 Story Avenue. It's in Louisville, Kentucky, and the zip code is 40206. We lived there, and we moved into one of the apartments there, apartment number 3, and it was on the lower level, because the other one was in the upstairs when we lived on Waverly Court. But this is totally different. We were on the ground. We went on, upstairs, and we found out our cousins lived there, and my cousin little Annie, my cousin Albert and cousin Johnny lived there, as well as my Aunt Annabelle and her son, little Willie, and Willie lived there too. And then Jimmy Earl lived there, which was my cousin. And then you had a few others that were my cousins living there, which, were related to us, which was Steve and Sharon and their kids. And then it was a hectic ordeal. We went through all that. One weird day was that my father bought a painting for my mom. It was of a beautiful fountain, water fountain. And in that he gave it to her before he died. And he decided he'd bring it to her in the cab because he had no way to bring it to her, because he never drove in his life. So he decided to bring it to her. And eventually after that, my father died. And he died 1985. And I was 11 years old at the time. We had it ups and downs. I took it hard when my father passed away. But when he gave that picture of my mom, of that painting, something bad was going to happen, because it fell off the wall after my mom got hit by a car. And she told me about it. And then a lot of other weird things been happening before this. And I had my sister and that living with us. My little sister. My older sister moved away a long time ago. And it was just me, my mom, my little sister, and her father, which is called Richie. Now, Mr. Richie has been moving around with us several times in several places. And, he moved there. And then later down the road, we moved again because we had problems with the landlord, the new landlord that we rented from. I don't know his name offhand, but we moved again. And the third place we moved to was 231 Thompson Avenue. It's in Louisville, Kentucky, and the zip code is 40206. And then we've been there for only 3 years. But, we got to meet my mother's friend of hers that she used to work with. Her name was Josephine Hayes. And the lady was, very heavy set when I met her. Very big. She was probably about 400 or 500 pounds overweight. But, she was a nice lady, and I met her. I met her kids, too. And one of her kids I didn't like, which is one of her daughters, Patsy. Her deal was, kind of erupted. But I met the kids for a while. I had some up and downs there. We had relatives that died there just like the rest. And we had other problems there down the road. But I'm not going to get explaining that because I want to get into the house we live now. But I'll keep going on. We moved again because we had problems and altercations with the landlord. Mr. Day decided to sell the property, and he sold it to the very first person I wouldn't recognize until I saw them in a long time, which was actually Fred Bailey, which was Sam Bailey's brother. Now, Sam had passed on. Now, what happened was Fred decided to buy the place, and he wanted to up the rent. So what are you going to do? He's going to kick us out in the street again, because last time he did it was through his brother. This time he did it in order to get rid of us. So we had to move. My mom made a bad call to move in with Richard Page, and we stayed there for a while and then had some altercations. He got mad because I wouldn't get a job, and Richard Page, got into it with my mom one night. This is what happened. That my mom actually flipped a heavy table over, and poor Richard kind of flipped out, and he told us to get out, and just told us to go and leave. And me, my mother, my sister, and the little dog that she had moved out of their deal. And we were homeless. We were out in the street about 2 or 3 in the morning. We had to get out. The only other place you can turn to was her brother, and which was actually my uncle and my aunt we had to move with, which was on William Street. And we had to stay there for a while. We had altercations with my uncle. We had fights and disputes that he wanted us out of there. So what happened was we had to move out. My mom had less than 2 weeks to find a place. I have now, on August the 24th of 1993, had turned 19 years old. And we had less than 2 weeks to find a place, so my mom found a place. What happened was we had to move in this place after that 2 weeks, after they got it fixed up. So what happened was we moved in the place, and exactly we moved on. After that, things really happened. That we moved in the place on September the 7th of 1993. This place is where we moved into. We've been here all of our lives, the place I've lived in. I'm not going to give the address right now because eventually it'll be leaked out. But in time, everybody will know the address soon. In my way, it will be seen somehow, or known pretty soon. Well, before we moved into place, you get this eerie feeling, sort of like anxiety or anxiety attack. But when you go in, it's like if you had spider senses, it would tingle. If it's sort of like ESP, giving you a warning that there's something not right about the house. I felt strange coming in this house because all my life I've been sick when I was growing up as a young boy. But never have I gotten sicker until I moved into this place. Things started to happen for a reason. And I can tell you that it got to the point that I got so sick that, I developed, down the life really sickness by Crohn's and ulcer colitis, which came later in the picture. But to go back to explain, you had to check out part 2 coming up next, the second half, coming up of the real creepy doll man from Louisville, Kentucky, tells another true tale of the house. Check that out. Part 2 coming up next.